Hey friends, I'm in the shade for a hot second, contemplating my next maneuver. Okay, here's the deal. It is practically August, you guys, like tomorrow August, which is boggling my mind, but I'm gonna correct something. And what's kind of funny is I showed myself planting it on this channel. It is my Coreopsis in the center leaf. And to make a long story short, I had a vision for this space. Now, I'm always open to an interpretation of the vision, but at the end of the day, you always have to have a North Star in design. You gotta know where you're headed. And what's funny about this Coreopsis Zagreb, which we're actually gonna 86 today, is the brightness of that yellow. First of all, it works. It totally works in this center island. But where it doesn't work is it is no longer aligning this space with the vision I have been holding. And when I sit with it and I open myself up to the possibility, it isn't the right choice for my space. So we're doing editing today, and we are embracing something I like to remind myself, which is, if you want roses, you better plant roses. And for me, if I want Coreopsis Moonbeam, I better be planting Coreopsis Moonbeam. So let's get it in, and I'm gonna show you why it is really going to be the answer to my Coreopsis dreams for this center island. In the center island, I have 3 of these Coreopsis. They were rescue plants from a house down the street that was being demolished. And when I actually look at the coloration, when I look at the colorways here, this vibrant, saturated, yummy Crayola yellow actually works really, really well with the purple in my color scheme. There's a slight bluiness to my Little Red Fox blue stem grass behind there. There's a slight cast to my Helen von Stein lamb's ear down here. And so in terms of color and aesthetic, this works. However, it doesn't align with the vision that I am holding for my future garden. The other thing that I want to touch on while I'm here is if you pan up to the garden bed behind. Now, granted, things are going over, I'm in between flushes of certain florals, but in nowhere else in this garden do I have this intensity of yellow. In fact, this takes it in a very primary color direction. And when you look at the rest of my garden, there's a bit of drama in all of the dark foliage, but there's also a bit of dreaminess, even in like the peachy oranges that I've chosen. There's a big saturation depth of color in the deep raspberries. All of my colors are left of center. None of them, if you looked at at that series of paint swatches that I talk about all the time, none of them land right in the middle. They're always either at the dark end or the super light end, which I love to play in for a more dynamic, in my opinion, dramatic color story. I know it's funny actually, is when I go over here to the side and I'm looking at my calendula, this is Ivory Prince, and it has this just barely there softness of yellow. There's a certain femininity, there's a certain dreamy quality to this that when you put it next to conifers, you put it next to really deep dark foliage, for whatever reason, this contrast to me is king. So here's the plan. I have 3 big buckets left over from other projects, just like empty nursery cans. And I'm gonna pick these out and I'm gonna pot them on in the buckets and save them for my aunt because she is a color queen. She loves a little bit of everything. And so this is perfect for her. And she's also crafty in the garden. So I know she's gonna like divide these into 8 million plants. And then I have bought 8 absolutely gorgeous Coreopsis Moonbeam, and we're gonna start placing them around the garden. Let me show you, let me give you some stats on what we are substituting in here as opposed to the Coreopsis Zagreb. So here we are. This is Coreopsis Moonbeam. It's probably my favorite Coreopsis, if I'm speaking quite frankly. It is lovely. It is described as light yellow clusters of daisy-like blooms on top of green, airy fern-like foliage, cut back to extend its bloom time, drought-tolerant, great addition to a sunny garden. What on earth? Do not. You're bringing the whole family? Oh, son of a gun. You guys, there's a new family in town, and let me spin you around. Okay, guys, what on earth are you even doing? So if you are new here, since we've redone this back garden, I have apparently become Snow White, but I'm like not sure it's in a great way just yet. We have 8 million rabbits. We have so many birds, 8 million pollinators flying through here. A chipmunk showed up the other week. We've never had a chipmunk in our garden. And did I mention rabbits? 1 bajillion stinking rabbits. And now we have a raccoon family that has decided that this is their new like hangout spot. It's their new favorite place in town. And it appears to be like a mom and 2 juveniles because they aren't full grown yet. And so they're not like these big fat raccoons that go through the city. I still don't want them in my garden. I still don't think it's a good thing that they're out during the day. That's real weird to me. But I've now been filming in the garden 3 times and those little chunkers come cruising across that top layer and then duck underneath the fence between myself and my neighbor to the south, Michelle. Okay. They have gone around the other side of the house, and let's get back to some Coreopsis Moonbeam. You guys, the adventure continues back here. Moonbeam grows about 2 feet tall, 2 feet wide. It's a more compact Coreopsis, hardy down to zone 3. Let it dry between waterings, which is perfect for my soil conditions, and it blooms. You guys, this thing blooms nonstop. We're talking early summer into fall, you whack this thing back, she keeps on going. Like, it is a good selection. And, or don't even hack it back. Like, honestly, the only time I hack it back is if it gets really wayward, and splays out in the middle, then you can like off with its head and it'll come right back. In fact, right here, you can see I picked through and I got a crop that I think had gotten too tall at the nursery because there's a cut there and then there's 2 more cuts right here. And I have all sorts of new like ferny, delicious growth coming on. So, and I was really excited. And these are from my friends at TLDR. And yes, I bought them with my own money. I love this one and I'm so excited to use it. Okay, you guys, let's dig out some plants and throw in some new ones. Oh my gosh. They're gonna fit? Oh, no way. There's no way it's fitting. Oh, son of a gun. It does not fit for the record. But guess what? It's gonna be fine for now. Holy. I am out of my super big buckets. I only have 2 medium-sized ones left. And so I'm going to hack this little, we're gonna hack this bad boy in 2. Boom, there we are. Yay, now it fits in my buckets. Cool. So what I'm gonna do next is I've purchased 8 Coreopsis, and you might be thinking it's kind of a funny number, but in my head, I can either do a drift of 5 and a drift of 3. That makes 8. I can do 3, 3, 1, and 1. So I have a bit more of that yellow throughout. And this is going to be a smaller item. It's only 2 feet by 2 feet. So it's not going to take up a lot of space. Or I could go for like a massive drift of 7 and then a 1 off and be like super asymmetrical. But I do have a couple of thoughts in terms of placement. First and foremost, when you come down the stairs right where the camera is, I kind of thought this would be a lovely moment for impact here. So that's a thought that I had had. I kind of like that this gets to be a bit of a moment. What it does mean though is I'm going to need to bring in something with a wider leaf down here by my Amsonia, because it is feeling very frothy and I feel like I need a bit of an anchor. But I do like this combination, a little bit of the yellow with a little bit of the purple Liatris. And then of course, I've got my Echinacea purpurea here to the right. So it's a nice sampling of the color story that will exist in this space. Now, originally when I did it, I had it one there, one here, and one there. So I just had 3 spots. I am kind of thinking, though, I wonder if I should do a trio here. This makes this part of the garden very full, much more full than this side. And I may do a singleton here. So I have the yellow pink combination because that is really cute. And then it's here grounded with the earthiness of the mugo pines. By the way, these are a mugo pine called Mops, and I really, really love this one. So if I do 1 there, 3 there, I do kind of feel like I would need to do a trio here to complete my positioning. And if I do that, then I'm back to 1 single over here, which I kind of don't mind. And it may be something that stays on if I decide to do a little in-ground kind of puddle wildlife pond moment right here off of the French doors of the casita. So I'm gonna place that out and let's just see how it looks. And that actually might be okay. I'm gonna give this 1 more loop around, but in terms of spacing, I've kind of discussed this before. I'm shooting for 70 to 80% in terms of kind of like plant spacing. So instead of putting them 2 feet apart, I'm gonna shoot for 18 inches apart, something like that. That's maybe in that 75% range. Like I said, 70 to 80%, not an exact science, but I don't wanna space them 2 feet apart for my particular design aesthetic, especially in my modern meadow, where you want every element kissing the next one. It was interesting, adding this immediately, I wanna bring in a little bit of thyme to like pull that purple down. Stay tuned. There may be some woolly thyme entering the chat. Yes, this looks good, good, good here. You know what I think? Because I have the echinacea here, it's providing a buffer. Interesting. I actually don't mind that there. This is actually very cute. I actually really like this too. Time to grab the biotone and we're gonna get to work down here. Now, you may be asking yourself, Kate, this seems awfully far back in the border for something 2 feet tall, but actually I kind of like that this eventually will be a little bit tall. We'll have a low moment here. It'll build over here. I have some ladies mantle right behind me. I'm thinking I might bring in some more Helen von Stein lambs here, maybe another division later in the fall. I'll pop it in over here. But I kind of like that I might have some sweeping motions through this center landscape because that is actually going to reinforce the shape of a meadow. When we think about shape in the garden, you guys, this needs to be a whole nother video. We don't want to just look at like, what does it look like from the top down? So thinking in drifts. What does it look like from the side? Okay, so profile. But then we also need to think 3-dimensionally. How is this going to grow and shift and move? So what's the cadence like in early spring? So lots of like structure and spiky elements. And then moving into those late dog days of summer where I want undulation as the eye moves up and down through this center landscape. And you guys, because it's me, guess what? We just found another blackberry seedling. Man, I am on my weeds this year. Woo! So one thing about this particular placement, and the reason I actually have you so far out, is because when I placed this over here, what I immediately, and I'm talking immediately noticed, was that it opened up more space here. Now, when Brian and I have been talking about kind of like the future of this particular garden and things that we want to incorporate, one thing that I kept being drawn back to time and again through different gardens was a little bit of water. And what's so funny is when I had that giant Coreopsis Zagreb in here, it felt like it left no room for water. Now I'm probably going to shift some things around if and when I do bring in a little piece here. By the way, I have a bit of a low spot, so I think I'm just gonna dump some straight compost in here. But I like the concept that because we're enjoying the chairs that are on the deck right here so much, I like the idea that I might have a little bit of a void in my landscape, a little bit of a moment for rest. So this could be a natural collection vessel for water. I've actually thought of digging it down, maybe about 18 inches, and then lining the edge with some tumbled bluestone. I thought that would be really pretty. I also thought a dish would be really gorgeous here with all sorts of little low crawly floral things around it. But regardless, I have to say, getting that giant Zagreb out of here and going with something that's a more petite 2x2, it feels like I have more breathing space back here, and I was actually really missing that. So you guys, breathing space restored. And by the way, these little things that you're seeing here, here, and here, those are echinacea seedlings. I literally sat here and divided those giant echinacea from the front garden way back in the spring, and I was hacking them to pieces, and some of you were like, girl, you are a mess in that garden. But you guys, an echinacea is baller, and it is so resilient. It does have a really fibrous root. So if you remember me chopping up my Coreopsis that has a fibrous root system, you just do a little slice, it practically pulls apart for you. Echinaceas are different. It is not impossible to hack them into pieces, but you want to do it early, and you're going to need a good knife to do it. And so that's why I was hacking away with my hori hori. Ooh, you guys, last little cutie in. And I think what I'll do is I have one last bag of compost that's partially open. And so I'm just gonna dump it right here so we don't have a void, because the last thing is I don't want water collecting in some random low spot. Okay, friends, here we are. First one there. Adorable little trio here. You guys, this area of the meadow is feeling very complete. We've got another cutie tucked in here. I kind of love that we've got a low moment right behind this mugo pine and before the echinacea I'll take off. And then back here, our final trio. Okay, guys. I'm trying to go slow this summer because I'm out here melting like a little popsicle, but I do feel like this is calling for something. So I kind of feel like my next layer is going to be short, potential for some dark leaf or maybe some wild floral, maybe something that's going to come up through the Amsonia. Oh my gosh. Oh, by the way, you guys, look at the seed pods on my Amsonia. Let's see if I can move that out of the way. Aren't those crazy? They actually remind me a little bit of radish seed pods, which I think is quite cool. I'm so happy we got those Coreopsis planted and watered in, because, you know, the more I was thinking about it, the more I was like, if I put off until next summer, next spring, planting of the Coreopsis, I'm gonna just be that much farther from the ultimate goal, which is to have this garden filling in incrementally. Because I know I'm not gonna plant it all out 100% this year. It's gonna be a multi-year project, but this actually takes me much further towards the goal. And the other thing it does is by substituting in that softer moonbeam yellow, it actually will allow me to do a much better job of selecting the next round of plants that I'm going to put in, because I will have a true yellow, the one that I actually want here in the garden for my eye to compare everything to and start working on the next color scheme, because I kind of feel like I need a bit of dark foliage and potentially some wispy orange bits. Okay, I'll see you in the next one. In the meantime, get out there and say hello to your garden for me.